Hey guys, what's up? It's Pluto here, and this is kind of a weird video to make, but I thought it was also a pretty cool video to make. In that I kind of made the realization that probably within the next couple of months, or maybe even a year, I'm probably going to be switching to an immutable operating system like Fedora Silverblue or openSUSE MicroOS, and I think the catalyst for that is realizing that all of my applications are installed using Flatpak. My core Fedora workstation install is very small except for development tools. And yeah, let's go ahead and show that actually. So if I'm on my here, right, I can do DNF repo query and then user installed, right? And if we do this, we can see that the amount of packages that are like part of my core operating system that I installed using DNF is very small. As we can see, we have some programming utilities, like some libraries for graphics, Clang, Cargo, Bear, AutoConf and AutoMake. We have NeoVim, Ninja Build, some PHP libraries, some Wayland libraries as well, some drivers for NVIDIA, right? Almost everything here is like a development library or something related to like drivers, right? Like I have all my NVIDIA things installed. I actually have very few stuff that isn't there. Like MPV is like the only one, and that's because I haven't figured out how to alias MPV and YouTube DL, the Python script, because I use that a lot when listening to music in the command line. Otherwise, I would use a Flatpak version of that, to be honest. And yeah, that was a pretty cool realization, because if I do this, sudo flatpak list. Let's see if I can remember my password. I've had this weird issue recently where I've typed my password so much that I just can't type it correctly anymore. It's like the finger version of like, not cognitive, semantic loss or something, where you say something over and over again so many times that it loses all meaning. But yeah, as you can see, all my applications are actually installed using Flatpak. You know, we have Signal, we have Shortcut, we have Sound Recorder, we have Steam. I actually had a lot of issues with Steam and compatibility, like Civ 6 wouldn't launch. But then as soon as I install the Flatpak for Steam, everything just works out of the gate. It's awesome. Discord, OBS, where's GIMP? I know GIMP's here somewhere. Yeah, GIMP. Right, like all my applications are installed using Flatpak. And so if you don't know what an immutable OS is, right, we'll load up the two, or awesome mutable. Yeah. And then Fedora Silverblue. And then openSUSE MicroOS. Okay, so this is a good link. I'll probably put in the description. But it's a good way to start reading up about what immutable operating systems are. It came into the forefront because of the Steam Deck, because that also uses an immutable operating system based off of Arch. And basically the idea is that once you have an image of what your operating system is, you can't really change that. Basically, like the root is read-only except for like your user directory. And so you'll use Flatpaks to install everything as a user, so user Flatpak install. And then if you want to update your operating system, right, because an application, right, something you install using DNF is just copying files from some other server, right, and putting it in some directory on your machine. That's all it is, right? It's just files, it's just executables, right? And so if you want to do that, you take that as like an atomic file system update. And so that's what Silverblue does using RPM OS tree, the same technology behind Flatpaks, but adapted for the RPM packages and different file systems like Btrfs and ext4. And openSUSE MicroOS is interesting because they just do it with Btrfs snapshots, the same like snapper utility that they used like way back when for their openSUSE tumbleweed distribution, where every time you would upgrade, you create a new snapshot, and therefore if you have a bad update to your rolling release, you can just roll back the snapshot and wait for the fix to arrive. Because it's rolling release, you always get updates pretty rapidly. And so I actually tried openSUSE MicroOS because that seemed like a better fit for my scenario. I've heard that RPM-OS tree is actually kind of like a black magic. It's not as simple as the Btrfs snapshot methodology that openSUSE uses. You have to learn about like layering and some like RPM-OS tree commands and stuff like that. But knowing the Fedora folk, since they're working very hard on this, right? If you look for the release notes of Fedora 37, there's a lot of specific stuff for Fedora Silverblue and Fedora Kinoite, which is their KDE version. They're working on this, and they also believe that having everything user installed, living in a Flatpak, and you have an immutable root operating system, that's going to be the future. And so a big component of this is, let's go back, all the development tools that I have installed, right? And realistically, the only stuff that really needs to live in my root operating system is these drivers, right? So like NVIDIA, and then like, where is it? Like this display link package, right? And maybe this Intel Media driver. Like anything that touches the hardware, that needs to be like root operating system. Everything else is installed, but it's like a CLI tool. It doesn't need the same like Flatpakification. And so a really cool tool is DistroBox. Where is it? Toolboxes, DistroBox. So Toolbox is there, but it has some more rough edges. You have to know more about Podman, which is like the back end of it, right? But DistroBox is kind of like just run and go, right? So when I used openSUSE MicroOS on my laptop for like a week, right? I basically just loaded up a Fedora guest container distros. Yeah, so I just loaded up a Fedora 36 guest container, right from here. And with that, I was able to run just my setup script, sudo pluto.files. Where's my GitHub? I actually kind of find it annoying that it doesn't show up in YouTube SEO. Sudo pluto. Where is it? Dot files, right? So since I automated all my dot files, I would just like do one chesma apply, and then boom, I have a development container where I can install all my CLI tools like Clang and Bear and all the libraries I need for my development, like GLM and all the OpenGL stuff. And I would have like a development container with all the libraries just existing on that container, not polluting my root operating system. Now, in practice, the only time where that becomes an issue, in like installing those libraries to your root operating system, is when you have multiple versions of those libraries, because then the like the linking names and the syslinks, they get like messed up. And so containers are already used for like Python and Ruby, where like you'll have like one host operating system, but then you have like two microservices like running like different versions of like Ruby with different gem versions, right? And they're able to talk to each other and use the same host OS without like overriding each other's like gem versions. And so that's the same idea behind why you'd use a container like DistroBox for your for all your development. And basically what you do for that, right, is you just add a new profile for GNOME terminal, and you basically do a new profile that like is called like Fedora DistroBox. And then whenever you open up terminal, you'll be inside that container where all your libraries and stuff are isolated from the rest of your system, which is pretty cool. So why am I not using it right now? So I actually realized that I was a good candidate for like Silverblue or MicroOS before I made this video, and I actually tried out MicroOS. And the reason why I'm not switching yet is because I did run into some usability hiccups. And I think a lot of it was because I decided to use MicroOS instead of Silverblue. Like some settings in GNOME just like wouldn't apply. Some things in GNOME were just broken, like you couldn't set the host name from the GUI. openSUSE has some weird stuff where it's like, oh, you can't reboot because that's locked away behind root, but you can use like systemctl reboot and that works. And to be honest, I was just like comfy in my normal like Fedora land. Now, why I would use Silverblue, I can't find a compelling reason to use Silverblue right now. The main reason why I was excited about openSUSE MicroOS is that it's based off of Tumbleweed. So you're having a small core operating system that's like bleeding edge. It's a rolling release distro, and you're guaranteed because of the rollbacks with Snapper that you're always having like a working host operating system, and it's rolling release, and it's very tightly integrated. And then you use something like DistroBox for your development, where you can have a more stable release, like a Ubuntu latest LTS, where you can run all your development tools and stuff, and you'll basically like match your same development environment as the server that you're deploying to, instead of like whatever the package versions are on the latest Fedora workstation. Now, as I mentioned before, openSUSE had some like growing pains with just kind of fit and finish, which is fine because actually openSUSE MicroOS for desktop and openSUSE is actually in release candidate phase for GNOME. So I'm actually working with the people there of like what I found usability wise. But you also get the sense it's like kind of like a hobby project because there's only like one lead developer. There's like one guy trying to do the KDE image, and realistically, Silverblue is going to win, but there's no compelling reason to use Silverblue. So, and if you're still watching this, you're probably like wondering like, what is this guy saying? So I'm saying that I'm a good candidate for an immutable operating system, but there's no product right now that fits the bill. And the closest one is openSUSE MicroOS. So we'll see if in the future that all the kinks can be ironed out, and then you'll probably see a video from me later on going through it and exploring it and really showing it off to you guys. But I wanted just to show off the whole idea that, yeah, if you evaluate your use case, then you might be a good candidate for using an immutable operating system. So I hope you guys kind of enjoyed. It's not like a real rant, but it's like a kind of freeform, like just dialogue about evaluating like the current use case and how I use my computer and what projects are coming up that'll make that experience even smoother. So it's an exciting space. I'll probably make more videos on it in the future, and I'll definitely keep you guys updated with the usability tweaks that are coming along in MicroOS. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. This is Sudo Pluto out. See you guys later. And yeah, be excited for the future. It's pretty cool.